Hi again, it's Germaine here from Bead Spider, and today I'm thrilled to be able to show you how to use our beautiful micro crystals. They're an Aurora Micro Crystal. The exciting thing about them that you may not know is that they're the same size as a size 11 seed bead. The beads on the left, the gold ones, are a size 10 Preciosa, so they're a tiny bit bigger. And these ones here, they're not a donut shape, they're a rounded shape. These ones are a metallic purple, and they're a size 11. So you can use them in your beadwork. In fact, what I'm going to show you today is how to make this beautiful bracelet, which is my Monaco bracelet, and it's a chenille stitch that I've used using the micro crystals. And of course, it's just beautiful beadwork with lots and lots of bling. So let's get started. I've brought together the things that you're going to need to make this bracelet. I've got a beading needle. You can use a size 10 or 12, whatever you prefer. I've got some thread, fine thread scissors. I've got a 10 by 8 crystal donut to use as a clasp. I've got my spider cord thread here, beading thread. I've got some old gold size 10 Preciosa seed beads, and of course the star of the show, which are these beautiful micro crystals, which I've chosen in this lovely metallic purple. I've threaded my needle with about 1.5 meters of the spider thread, and I've used a gold color, and I'm going to start with a simple ladder stitch. So I'm going to pick up 4 of my seed beads, and I'll bring them down to the end of the thread, but I'm going to leave about 12 inches which is 30 centimeters as a tail, because I can use that to put the clasp on at the end. I've got my 4 beads there. I'm going to come around, and I'm going to go back through the first 2 beads, and then when I pull them up down to where I want them to finish, you see they sit beside each other. Now my thread's coming out from this side. I'm going to go back down through the second pair, and I just have to hold it in place so it doesn't run away. And you see that sits them in place. I'll pick up my next 2 seed beads, and you can see I'm coming out from here. I'm going to be going around and in through the top 2 beads, which will form a circle. Oops, got my thread caught there. And as I pull it up, these 2 will now sit next to the first 2. And in order to capture that nicely, my thread's coming out. I'm going to go back up through those top 2. I'm going to continue along like this until I have 6 little pairs of seed beads. So again, coming out the top this time, coming around, going through the bottom, bringing up the next pair, and then coming back down through that pair, ready to thread on the next 2, coming down from the bottom, going around to make a circle, pull it down. See, they just sit beside each other, and don't worry if it looks a little bit wibbly wonky, that will sort itself out later on. So how many have I got now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. So here's our last pair, coming out from the top, making a circle, going up, and then back down through here. Oh, missed. Down through these 2. Now I'm going to bend this in half and make it into a circle. So I'll just fold it over, doesn't matter which way, And you can see I've got the two ends here next to each other. There's my tail thread, there's my working thread. I'm coming out from the working thread here, and I'm going to go down through those first two beads. And then you can see that's not together yet, so then I'll go back up through the first two. And then just to make it nice and secure, I'm going to go back down again through the first ones. So I've ended up with my tail thread coming out one side and my working thread on the other side. So now if you see here, I've made a little tube of beads, and I'm ready to start with my chenille stitching. Now the easiest way to do that is I'm just going to support my thread here. You can see I've got two sets here. I'm going to be working in pairs. So I'm going to pick up two beads, and I'm going to come down this very first seed, not both of them, just the one. And you'll see by doing that, these two beads, and sometimes you have to pop them in place. See, they sit at an angle to each other. This is like a herringbone. Then to carry on, I'm going to go, I've come out of this one, I'm going to come back up to the next one, just through the first bead, and come back up to the top. So I'm just bringing my thread back up to the top again. So there's my first pair I've added. Now I'm on to the next pair. So again, I'll pick up two beads, and I'm coming out of here. I'm going to go down through the first bead of the next pair. Make sure they sit on top. See, they're at an angle. And then I'm going to go back up through the following pair. Oops, sorry about that. I've got my towel caught in here. Hold on a second. Now, where am I? There we go. So there's my first pair. There's my second pair at an angle. And now I'm on to my last pair. So I'll just pick up two more seed beads. And again, I go down through the first. That positions my last pair. Make sure they sit right. And now, when I come along, I'm back to my first two and my first little pair of V's. So I'm going to go up this original bead from the first row, and I'm also going to go up through the first bead of my first little angled pair, so that when I pull it through, that's called a step up. So when I pull it through, you can see here on the top, if I look at it from the top for you, they're actually sitting separately. See, I've got my three pairs of angled beads sitting separately. And from now on, we're going to work in these pairs. So it's time to bring in my micro crystals. So just bring a few in. Now here's my first pair of angled beads. I want to sit a micro crystal in that little gap. So I'll just pick one up, and I'm going to go down through that first or the second bead of the pair, and then that will sit that little crystal in between these two. Now I want to do the same in the next pair, so I'll move along to the next pair, and I'll just go straight up that first bead of the next pair, and you see it pulls those two beads in together. And then if I move around, there's my second pair. I'm going to put my next micro crystal in and go down. It'll sit in between the two, and then I'm going to go back up through the next pair of angled beads, and that will pull them in. And now I'm ready to add my third micro crystal into that next pair. Now I need to step up again. So, and now once it gets to this sort of position, you can start to hold it from the top. I'm going to go back up through the first bead of that first pair and then in through the crystal as well, and I'm going to step up through that crystal so that my thread is now coming out of my micro crystal. So you can see here I've got my 3 crystals on the top in between each of my pairs. So to continue along, I need to add a second set of seed beads. So I'm going to just pick up 2 seed beads. This is a really simple, easy pattern and lots of fun. It's quite repetitive, so it's relaxing. So see, I'm just jumping straight across to the next crystal, like so. Make sure it pops in place. Pick up 2 more seed beads, jump across to the next crystal, pull it up, and 2 more across to the crystal. And I'm also going to step up through this first pair of seed beads, and that brings me back to wanting to add a crystal between these 2 pairs of beads. Now I'll show you a little quick way of doing it. Now that you've got something to hold on to, it's much easier. I want to put my micro crystal in here, so I'll just pick up, oh, got 2 there. Just pick up my micro crystal, and then to make it quick, I'm going to go through here, jump on top of the crystal, and straight through there. So then I'm doing it in one action. Move it around. Oops, get ready for the next one. Pick up my micro crystal. There we go. And then down into that one, jump across the top of the crystal in the previous row, and then up through there. So you can see I'm sort of going down and up in the one movement. So it makes it nice and quick, really. Move it around, pick up a crystal. Now I'm going to go down, across to the other one, and now it's time to step up. So now I've gone through those 2 beads, but I need to step up into the crystal. And I'm right back where I started again, through the crystal. And now you can see I'm ready to add my sets of 2 seed beads between the crystals. So it's so simple, it's just repetitive like this now, and you can continue along in this fashion, alternating between adding 2 seed beads and a crystal between, on each row, stepping up at the end of each row, and until you have got to about an inch. So see, I'm coming out of this crystal, going through this crystal, and then stepping up into my first pair again. And again, I'm in place for the crystals. So you want to keep going in this way until you have about your bracelet length minus about an inch for the clasp. So there we go. There's 1, 2, and 3. I'll just do these last couple of crystals. There's 1. So see, cut across over there, pop in my crystal. It's fantastic that these crystals are about the same size as a seed bead. These ones are a size 10 seed beads, so the micro crystals are just a tiny bit smaller than those, which actually works really well with this pattern. But if you're using a Toho or a myuki 11, it's a much closer match. Okay, so then I'll just now see I've got the thread. Just make sure as you go that it's all sitting in place. And now step up through that last crystal, and I'm ready to continue. And you can see my pattern coming along, and I'm just going to continue along, and then I can show you how to finish off the other end. Now I've finished my bracelet length, and I've left about an inch gap for the clasp, but I've just purely measured it by wrapping it around my wrist and going, oh yes, I've got about an inch gap. It's as easy as that. Then I'm now going to, I'll just show you how to finish it off. We've got a ladder stitch at the beginning, so I want to have the same ladder stitch at the end so that the beads match up. So I'm just going to do that quite easily. I'm coming out of the crystal, and so I'm just going to do my seed bead row, and then I'm literally just going to continue just doing seed beads so that I finish off my bracelet so that it looks the same. So once I've got to that here, now I'm stepping up. Okay, and then I'm just going to keep adding 2 more seed beads, down and across, and 2 more, down and across, just make sure they're sitting right, and 2 more, down and across. And now I can step up just like I did before, but this time I'm going to step up to the top row of the seed beads, and let's see where we're at. So I've got 2 rows here, and you can see I've got 1, 2, 3 rows. So I'm going to do my next row. So again, 2 more. I'm going down and I'll come up across the top one, and that cements, you can see it holds them together then. 2 more, down 1, up through the top one, and the last one, 1, 2, down 1 and up through. Now here, that's our 3rd one, so we have to step up, so we go through the top one and then step up through our top seed bead there. That will bring it all in nicely. There we go. And so now I've got my row of 3 seeds on the top. Now these are still separated out, so what I need to do now is I need to go around this top row again, and I'm going to go around without any beads, and this will draw it in so that I can then add on my clasp. So I'm just going down and up and down and up, and see now it's all drawn in nicely and I'm ready to begin. So I'm just going to make sure I'm between, here's my 2 pairs, right, I'm between 2 pairs here. Yep, in fact I might go down and up through this one. There we go. So I'm between 2 pairs. I'm going to come off of here, and then I'm going to come back down through these 2 pairs. So I'm going to continue on now in ladder stitch just off these 2 beads. If I turn it over the back, you might see it a little easier. There we go. I'm actually between 2. See, there's 2 and there's 2. So I'm just going to, okay, here we go. Coming out of here, I'm going to add 2 beads. I'm going to go down through this one here. I might even go down through 2. I only needed really to go down through 1. They will sit on top. It looks a bit wonky to start with, but it gets there in the end. And then up through these 2, and then finally I'll come back up through this last one. There you go. So now I'm away and I'm ready to add my next pair. 2, go down through 1, let them, make sure they sit on top nicely, and see, I just come across, I'm coming out of here, I'm going to jump across and then up through those 2 beads, add 2 more, go down through 1, sit them in place, come across and up through 2. I'm going to continue along in this manner until I have 17 sets of 2s. So here is my clasp band finished. I've got my original 3 beads here to match the other side of the bracelet, and then from here to here I have 17 sets of 2 beads that is going to be perfect for my clasp. Now I'm coming out of 2 here. Now because I've brought them in a little bit tighter at the top, sometimes it's a little bit harder to see what I'm doing, but if you see here at the top, there's my original 2 that I've started with. I'm going to leave 1 bead either side, and then I'm going to use these 2 to attach the top of the clasp. Now you can see I'm coming out of here, so I'm just going to literally go down this, so I'm missing this bead, coming down this bead here, and maybe go down 2, bring it down, and this will bring my loop down, and then I'm going to jump across. So you can see I've got 1, 2, I'm going to jump across to here, 1 and 2, the one at the top, sitting a little crooked, so I'll do them separately. Oops, look at that. Through there, up through this one here, which isn't sitting quite right because I pulled it in, and then up through here, so I can go up a few beads. There we go. And then I can pull it in. See, look. Now again, I want to strengthen that, so I'm just going to weave back down again. Maybe. Get in there. There we go. Back down through all the beads. And I'll just pull it up before I just tighten that up. There we go. And then back down into here again. Go down through 3 beads this time. So I'm just going to literally go up and down a few times so that I'm really happy that this is a really strong closure. One, go up through this one, go back up into the main one, there we go, and then I'm going to, there we go, so that's on there now nicely. And I'm just going to, I might go all the way over and I'll go down through here and up here again a little bit, and then I'll just knot that off, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to attach the other end. Now I've finished my loop and I've tied off my thread, and don't worry if you don't know how to do it, I'll show you how to tie it off here at the end. And I've picked up my tail thread and I've put a needle on the end, and I'm going to attach this at this end so that it just makes a nice simple clasp for the bracelet. Now I'm coming out of here, I'm going to pick up 5 of my seed beads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, my crystal, and 1 more seed bead. I'll bring them down to the bracelet, and then I'm going to come back through, so I'm missing this bead. I'm going to take my needle through the crystal and the following 2 seed beads. 1, 2, and I'll pull that up. That will cause, because I've gone around this bead, that causes that to sit at the top. And now I've got 3 beads here. I'm going to pick up another 3 beads, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go down, so I'll miss this bead and I'll go through the first bead and even the second of this next pair of beads, and that gives me that little triangle look at the top. I then want to weave around to come out of the first bead of this pair, so to do that I can just go straight across and up through 1, and then again straight across, and then I'm coming up out of the bead of the third pair, and now I'm ready to do 3 more seed beads. So pick up 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go straight across and up through these 2 seed beads here under my crystal, through the crystal and up, through the seed bead on the top, back down through the crystal, okay, back down through those 2 original seed beads. There we go. And then I've got my clasp completed, but what I want to do now is to go down and around and up and down a couple of times to make this secure. Now what I'm going to do is I'll weave down into my bracelet and make a few knots. And then once I've gone down through a few beads, where's the hole? You can see it. You can see the hole there, and through that one as well. Then I'm going to make a few knots. And how I do that is I just go, you see I'm coming out of this bead here, just going to go under this thread here. There we go, under the thread, and I'll make a loop, and then I will take my needle back through that loop, and then I pull it up between the beads. Then I can go through some more beads. See, I'm following the thread path. There we go. And if I want to, I could do another one. See, under the thread between the beads, pull up a loop. Now if I'm getting very little thread, this is why it's always good to leave a little bit more in your tail than you normally would, so that you've got room. And I'm just going to continue on like this. I'll do one, go through 1 or 2 more beads, and I could even turn around and come back the opposite direction if I wanted to. You can see there's a thread path across there, so, or I could even go down through here and then up through there. Just, you know, weave my way around a bit. Finally I'll do 1 more. It's really up to you how much you want to do this. I always do a lot because your clasp is where it, you know, you could have a breakage if you don't thread it off enough, or if you don't knot it off enough securely. So finally I'll just go through one last crystal, and then I'll just come in nice and tight with these scissors pardon me, and snip it off. And there's my bracelet completely finished. My little clasp hopefully will fit through. There it is. And there's my lovely finished micro crystal Monaco bracelet.